Hey guys, I have this video here from Destin that is an interview with Jonathan Rogers, you know, the game director for Path of Exile 2, and I want to see what information we can get in here for the Last of the Druid, the 0.4, the next big patch for Path of Exile. These interviews that Destin has made historically have been awesome, and they have shared a lot of information in there. For example, they confirmed the Druid was coming in 0.4 in one of these interviews, so I am excited to see what Jonathan is going to say in here. So let's go, dude.
Well, Jonathan, it's great to see you again for Path of Exile 2, Last of the Druids reveal, and to share this with my audience. How have you been?
Me personally, or
yeah, you. How you? You're talking to you.
yeah. So honestly, like, it's been going very well. Like, probably for me, one of the great things is that we're really showing people how we're able to get the company to be able to work on 2 games at the same time and kind of.
Dude, you can see how excited Jonathan is about the game and talking about the game, and people talk shit, brother. I am always going to defend this man, dude, because people talk shit about him, and then you see him talk about the game and he's excited, he loves the game, he has passion, dude.
Make sure we're hitting those releases.
Also, he loves Delve and Incursion base right there.
And everything. So so long as we're actually able to get just make cool things, I'm really happy, and so it's really good to see that we're finally able to do that.
That's great.
Nice.
Well, let me ask you this. What's the most exciting aspect of this update that you're really excited to talk about and reveal today?
Well, for me, I would say it's honestly the Fate of the Vaal League. And I guess I'm really personally invested in this one because I took the kind of unusual step of writing the code for it myself, which I don't usually do these days. It's like something that's kind of pretty unusual. But I really enjoy those kinds of leagues that have like some kind of interesting simulation of something going on. So, the build your dungeon mechanic and like all that stuff. I had a blast making that. So I'm really hoping that players will enjoy playing around with that too.
And I love that is a mechanic, by the way. I told you guys that I love Incursion in Path of Exile 1, and my favorite part of Incursion is building the temple more than doing the little pockets part, the little pockets of mobs to get the loot. Normally, people that farm Incursion in POE1, they farm the little pockets for loot and for gold and for whatever, and they don't give a fuck about the temple. Some people build the temple to sell it. That is the part that I like to do. And there are people that run the temple. I would like to run the temple. Well, in POE2, they focus on building the temple and running the temple. Love it. That is the part that I like, man.
And there's just some really cool design ideas in there, and like some of the crafting stuff in there is like pretty crazy and out there, and it's just a really fun one. I mean, obviously the Druid is like a big thing, and like but I've been working on that for a long time, whereas this league is something I've only been working on for a little while. So I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
Yeah, you actually showed me the Druid many years ago at Gamescom. You brought it up during the roundtable there. So we first played it a few years ago. What happened to that build since? Can you take me through your process of getting to today, besides, adding the whole wyvern or is it?
Guys, I know that you are, at this point, you are tired of me saying this, because I've said it many times. Fuck the wyvern. Don't get mad at me. If you like the wyvern, hey, cool, have fun, man. I hate the wyvern. I think it looks goofy and it doesn't fit. But okay, let's go.
Wyvern or wyvern?
Wyvern, I believe, is what we said.
My mistake.
I don't know what the official fantasy pronunciation is, but
you were probably right.
But so basically, back when we did that presentation, we only really had the bear, and to be honest, it was really only like 3 or 4 skills for the bear kind of there. So I mean, we had a class and it was fun what we had made, but it wasn't really like a full class with all the different things that you need. And honestly, at that point, I don't think we'd even really realized the amount of work it even takes to make a class. It was that early. So I mean, there was a lot of stuff to do, and then even worse, we had the thing where we added WSD. That's something.
Do you think at some point they regretted the decision of making a Druid in the first place, and now they can't take it back because they showed them bear Druid and people were excited about it? Imagine that, dude.
Compromised like a bunch of the extra work that we had done, on this class, getting all the animation stuff done. So that was just a huge amount of work. And not only that, but we had situations where there were huge amounts of arguments in the team about how a wolf should be. That was a huge point of contention. So that was I was kind of like, I really don't want it to be a man in a wolf suit. I really wanted to make sure that it was, actually like you'd run around on 4 legs and that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, there was problems with, okay, but then if you're going to do that, then what can you do? Just bite things? I mean, what are we doing here? There was that kind of stuff, there was just sort of fulfilling the fantasy of that. And so, we had to find ways to compromise around that and make the walking feel good. And then there was the wyvern, which, once again, WSD problems where, now that we've got that, it has to be that when you use a spell or a ranged attack, you expect to be able to move while you're doing it. If you're if you're a wyvern and you're like walking around on your wings, you can't just like slide around on the ground. So, we had problems of like, how do we solve that problem? And it's crazy some of the stuff we went through. Like at one point we had the neck like turning around, and then you have this like flip animation when you went around a certain 90-degree corner and that kind of stuff. It was seriously crazy the amount of iteration we had to go through. So, like just getting there was just a whole thing. And then of course, like there's just everything else you need to make a class, the ascendancies and the support gems and the uniques and like all that stuff, right? So it's a surprisingly large amount of work, but I think the Druid really was one of the harder ones we've ever done.
Druid is looking great. It looks a lot of fun. You sort of addressed it in the presentation, but I did see Darth's recent video. I like Darth Microtransaction a lot. I watch a lot of his content, pop in his stream. He was highlighting that.
Shout out to Darth Micro. He's awesome. He said when they were revealing the thing live, I went and watched his VOD when he saw the Fate of the Val League reveal, and he said right there live with all his viewers, Jazzarus was right when they revealed the At City thing, and it was awesome. Thank you, Darth.
There could be a better boss reward grind. How are you revitalizing the POE2 boss grind for uniques or just interesting gear drops from the more challenging encounters? And is that from community feedback?
So we basically, like, there's still a lot more work we can do to like make the core drop pool that you get from fighting bosses and so on to like to be really good. There's definitely some concerns at the moment that that this specific content has all the best stuff, and then like there's not enough stuff just for like killing your random workaday boss. So that's like something that we are concerned about. And one of the things that we're doing here is we've actually buffing a lot of uniques, like that kind of thing, like to make sure that those are actually more exciting to find. We're like doing things like with like lineage supports to like do some of that as well. So we're just trying to make sure.
They have been updating the patch notes, by the way, guys. If you didn't know, they released the patch notes the day of the announcement. But like today, early or last night, I don't know, because of the time difference, they updated the patch notes. So there are more unique buffs and changes in there if you want to check it out. They are like, so you know what they are. They are all the way towards the bottom. There is like a little thing that says patch note changes or updates or something like that.
Or that like the rewards that we do have are better. I think one of the things that we do get compared to all the time is like Path of Exile 1, which has like 10 years of content and is like a very hard like thing to sort of, it's hard to get to the point where there's enough rewards like how that game has, right? That ultimately is like the game we should be compared to. So we sort of have to reach the point where there's enough content and enough interesting things going on with the drops that people sort of feel happy about that. And so yeah, we are trying to address that here. But I did think honestly there's an element of just we need to get enough content into the game that there's enough cool things to find that you can actually feel like, okay, I've I'm gonna go for this particular thing that's undervalued in the market right now, and then that kind of stuff in order to really get that feeling of of like chase rewards to find.
That is something that POE1 has that is cool, that there are many things that are important. So you have different people specializing in different things to be able to supply the market with those things. And not everybody is doing the same thing. Again, you have the people doing the incursion, the temples, the double corruptions. You have people doing the delve like me, trying to get those fossils, resonators, blah, blah, blah. You have people doing the ultimatum, getting the catalyst. You have people doing different things to get different things. And that is really, really cool, man. And again, he knows that it is really hard to get to that point right now in POE2. We have to kind of understand that. But we will get there. And they know it and they will try to get there.
We'll hear you on that. The next one's sort of an important one. So please be honest. Who coined the term bear apocalypse? Just out of curiosity.
That was me, I believe. I believe I was the one who wrote that one. The skill was called that in development, by the way.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was the name.
So you just had that in as a placeholder?
Like, yeah, sure. I mean, like people always pick funny placeholder names. In fact, like a lot of that stuff, the data miners will still find it in the game files when they look around. So that's always a fun one for those silly names.
Nice. So I was sort of looking at the Steam numbers, and I noticed it's really interesting. Path of Exile seems to have smaller peaks, but longer valleys on SteamDB. Path of Exile 2 has bigger peaks, but the valleys got a bit lower on the player count front. Do you think there's something missing on the retention end for each update of POE2 right now that'll get ironed out as you head towards launch?
I definitely think that that's something that will improve. And I think that really what it comes down to, once again, is just the fact that POE1's got so much depth of content. The amount of stuff that you can do in a given season is just so incredibly huge. There is, put it this way, I mean, there's content there that like players may not even play for multiple leagues at a time, and then when they come back to it, like it's been so long that they like refresh and sort of play again. Like there's that kind of stuff, because there's just such a huge amount of content. I mean, I don't even know what the count of the number of leagues we released in that game is at this point. It's like more than 40. It's probably like maybe approaching 50 by this point. So yeah, there's just like a huge amount of stuff going on there, and ultimately, it's just about making sure that we get in that end game to the point where people are enjoying it more. So we actually did have a huge plan for new content for endgame that we were planning on getting in 040.
This is what people are mad. Some people, not all people are mad, and maybe it is a loud minority, I don't know. But this is why some people are mad that they didn't do the update to the endgame in 0.4 and they deleted to 0.5. I am not that mad. I do think it impacts the longevity of this league. Of course, it is going to be like that because you are going to be playing basically, besides having the Druid and the Incursion, the game is the same, right? So it may impact retention, it may impact the league longevity, but what we are getting is good content. The Incursion looks awesome, the Druid looks awesome, right? And I will take that knowing that in 0.5 the thing will be insane, will be big, because as Mark said in the CD interview, it is something insane that they are trying to do, a crazy big Atlas 3, which is the #1 thing that I wanted to see. They are reworking the end game in several ways. He even hinted at changing the pinnacle bosses, that he doesn't like that the ritual king, the king in the mist is the ritual boss, for example, or that Allrod is the expedition boss. So he basically hinted at some changes there too. So apparently it's going to be huge. So okay, I can wait, man.
But it just sort of ended up being that the scope was a little bit too large. We couldn't quite do it. So some of that content instead is going to be coming in 0.50. And I think that can address some of those issues as well. Like one of the common things we hear is basically like there aren't enough goals in the end game. Like you sort of feel like once you get into the end game, you just lose a little bit of direction. So that's sort of something that we want to make sure that we.
Oh, and that is another thing that I think he hinted at that I hope happens, because it is something that I have been saying since I played my very first league in POE1 back in 3.26. That is something that I loved in POE1. It is that when you reach the end game, you are in the end game already, but you still have quest lines. And you have a quest line to hunt down the City in Exile. You have a quest line to hunt down the Eater of Wars. You have a quest line to help the Maven, which finishes with fighting the Maven. So you are in the endgame, but you are still following these eldritch entities in some sort of cosmic game, but it is a questline, directed questline. I love it, and I have been saying POE2 needs something like this. And through these things, you get progress Atlas points. Well, the Atlas points is more related to the catch them all mechanic in the map layout, but you also get the Void Stones for your Atlas. There is much more, there is a lot of progression there. And in POE2, what you do? Cleansing the corruption, or cleansing the corruption. That sucks, man. That sucks. I know they are going to do something different from that. I don't know if it is something as cool as hunting down the City in Exile, but hey, if they give you some sort of quest line in the end game, it will be awesome. That is not cleansing the corruption, because someone can say, oh, cleansing the corruption is a quest line. No, that sucks, man.
We're improving. So we decided to do sort of like some system improvements, like making sure that the fun of the end game is improved in that way. But some of what the end game is lacking is just straight up content, and obviously that takes time to produce. Like it is. I can assure you that it is in progress. There is stuff coming, but yeah, there's just next league I think will be when we manage to get a lot of stuff coming out.
I definitely didn't mean it as a negative. Like the player numbers seem really, really solid. It was just sort of an interesting comparative figure that I thought I would ask you about.
But it is definitely something that I'm concerned about, right? Because like I would say that when players, I mean, look, so every time we have a release, we're like, okay, what are the players unhappy about, right? Like what are the things that we need to be addressing? So the in-game stuff is one of the ones that we had a big in our list that we wanted to improve. So that's why we started. I mean, even in 0.30 we decided to make a patch to address some of the problems even early, because we saw it as a big enough of an issue that we wanted to.
The 0.31 where they did the tower change that a lot of people are unhappy about. I like the step that they took, but I dislike still the emphasis on punishment. One portal, you can't reuse the map if you die. But being able to apply the tablets directly to the map, I like that part.
Even fix that mid-league, so that's why 0.31 happened as well.
Yeah, whenever we chat, I try not to ask you like the same questions over and over again, but I thought there would be a few points that I could revisit. I actually watched some of our old interviews to prepare for today. One of the things you highlighted was about POE1 players versus POE2 players and the differences there. Do you feel like POE1 player satisfaction has gone up in POE2? And how are POE2 players feeling about the game? You highlighted that POE1 players felt like 2 was hard. And
okay, this is leaning into the change that they made about density, right? And about the speed that POE2 was having and how that was good for POE1 players, but then POE2 players were unhappy about it, and then they are nerfing it. And now a lot of players are unhappy about it. Some players are happy. There is a war even in the forums. I saw 2 different posts. One post saying that slower was better and lower density was better, and another post saying more density and more speed is better. So people are divided on this topic. Let's see what Jonathan says.
2 players felt like 2 was easier. How's that going?
So I definitely think that POE1 players are liking POE2 more than what they did before. But I think the other thing that's really helped is that, POE1 is actually getting content again with the proper release schedule and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, like if you're the kind of person who just doesn't like POE2 for whatever reason, because then you like POE1 better, it's like now since that game's getting updates, you're kind of not feeling, unhappy and disappointed, right? So that actually changes the whole vibe of the community pretty significantly. So like we actually realized at some point, it's like one of the best things we can do for POE2 right now is actually make POE1 better, because it's kind of like, serving the people who are unhappy about that. So that's definitely something that's really helped. And I mean, really, like it's not like we ever intended that we wouldn't be getting content regularly for POE1. It's just that it sort of ended up being with the getting the company to a place where it could do that was hard. So now we're in a much better position to be able to do that. And so we had a POE1 release what feels like seconds ago. It was like I think it might be like only even a month, and maybe a month and a week or something. And so being able to deliver this update and that update within such a short time period, like it's definitely required quite a lot of difference, just engineering of the company, right? Like getting it to the point where we've got all the people we need. So and it's kind of cool as well because as the company gets bigger, we get to do more. Like you might have noticed that the stuff we're doing with our trailers now is like way more advanced than what we've been doing.
Hire me, man. Hire me already, dude.
That kind of stuff. Like we're getting more people to be able to do that kind of stuff too. So it's been quite cool to see that kind of growth as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but I think I did last time, so I don't want to be redundant. You talked a lot about performance this time. One of the top search terms is POE2 Steam Deck. Have you worked on that specific device in addition to your current improvements? And then are you forward thinking about the Steam machine?
So I mean, we haven't targeted that machine specifically, but all the performance improvements we're doing will work very much in favor of that machine as well. Like it is a pretty marked difference, like the improvements to performance. And this is one of those things where you got to be really careful about promising things because you're always going to get someone who's got, for whatever reason, their PC is like doing worse now than it was before, and then like they end up being slower or something like that. So you didn't fix it at all, but like I really can say that like the improvement is pretty damn marked. We did a lot of work here. So I think it's going to especially be beneficial for console players as well, because in that case, that we can be much more certain about our performance promises because hardware's all exactly identical. Like it is way better there, especially at endgame when you had lots of performance problems. So yeah,
this is good, brother. There are a lot of people that play on console. I have many viewers that play on console, and they are always saying, "Brother, the performance on console sucks. Talk about this, just let it be known that we console players are struggling." And I am here for you, man. I am here for you. I know that you are doing a big performance thing this time, but hey, keep going, keep pushing it, keep making it better. Our console brothers are struggling. If PC people are struggling, imagine our console brothers, dude. They are struggling too, and there are many other things that are problems in console, like the UI, the market, and a lot of stuff in POE1 that the market is not combined, for example. But performance is obviously the number one thing.
It honestly might be getting towards double FPS in some cases. Like it really is like pretty big deal.
Double FPS. You heard it here first.
Yeah, well, as I said, I don't want to make promises like that. So we went with the conservative 25% in the live stream for that reason. But yeah, like I mean,
hey, if it doesn't make my CPU catch on fire, I will be happy, man.
I'm seeing numbers like that though. Yeah, it's way better.
Well, I hope you're correct. Speaking of just Path of Exile and how you really try and innovate, in the past we had talked about lack of innovation in the market. That was a while ago. Do you feel like a lot of the larger companies are getting better about this, or even more risk averse? And are they creating a space for studios like your own to really shine?
So it's pretty interesting what's been going on in the industry in the last year, especially where it feels like all the biggest things are indie hits. Like, honestly,
I knew he was going to say that. When he said there is something very interesting happening, I was going to tell you, I was going to say he's going to say that the best games right now are indie games, and he said it.
It really feels like something has changed a little bit here with that.
Well, you can see it here. I am playing since I am already done with POE1. I did the 40 out of 40 challenges. I killed all the Ubers. I am finished with the league. What am I doing in the downtime while waiting for POE2? I am playing Ball Pit. Look at this. I am playing Ball Pit. Practice for POE2. If I do that, I will feel like I am burning myself out. Let me chill, let me recharge, and go 100% on the new league. But yes, what I am meaning it is indie games are rocking, man.
I sort of wonder whether what we'll see eventually is some kind of cycle where the studios, the kind of like, there'll be another thing where like the indie hits kind of like end up growing again and becoming the new AAA, as it were, or you kind of have a cycle again of like teams growing in. But right now it feels like we're right in the point where you get some really polished indie experiences are kind of ending up being some of the largest things. So, I mean, like the older companies, I mean, it's honestly, I barely pay attention.
I want to make an indie game. I have several ideas, but I don't know how to code, man. I know how to manipulate Unity and all that shit, but not the problem is the coding, you know. So if you want to do something, you know, we can talk about it.
Them anymore, quite frankly. You know, like that stuff is like not really where the action is at this point. Which normally I feel like people are overly mean to AAA game developers, but yeah, it really is kind of a bit of a marked change this year for sure.
Yeah, like I'm playing Of Ash and Steel. It's a smaller studio game, and it's just like, oh wow, this is so refreshing. And Out of Action is this indie game. It's a first-person shooter that's trying something new, and that's been really, really refreshing for me. Another thing about the market, just generally speaking, you know, we talked about Chris last time, and he's sort of doing his YouTube thing now. He did a video about dark patterns. It wasn't something that I was really familiar with. It was really, really
awesome
insightful.
video, by the way. We
You've
reacted
also
to it.
talked with me about avoiding negative cycles in the past. How do you and the team avoid dark patterns being icky feelings for the player?
I think it really just
feelings. Yeah, you know.
I think it really just comes down to we've always, and like this has been from the very beginning of our company, have always just been really against those kinds of things. Like maybe there's this kind of like there's a sort of hacker ethos that I think that both Chris and I kind of came from younger, like when we were younger in our lives, that kind of was very kind of like anti-establishment in this way.
2600 I was all the
rebels.
Yeah. So yeah, we just kind of had that sort of feeling about things, and so yeah, our kind of whole philosophy I think was kind of shaped from that a lot, and so that's whenever we're looking at you know, doing things, even, you know, we're very careful with our microtransactions and this kind of stuff as well. Like whenever we're looking at the stuff to make sure that we don't like go across the line of like, yeah, just that weird icky feeling as you said. But I mean, it just comes down to I think just being a gamer and being in that community and understanding, like, you know, if you're part of it, it's like you immediately tell like, how would I react if I saw a game announce this, right? And that's what you need to be thinking as you're doing these things. And honestly, like with Settlers of Calgary, so this is a funny one. So that one is a league that had some real-time mechanics. And I was like super uneasy about that. I was like, I'm actually really worried that we're crossing a line here into like mobile game style territory. And I was really, really worried about it. And it kind of worked out. And I think the reason why is because we had enough trust built up that we weren't kind of doing it in an evil way. And we also kind of weren't doing things like where, you know, like we weren't doing the type of thing where we're like, okay, we want you to get up in the middle of the night and that kind of like crappy stuff that that games have done.
To be honest, you don't care, man. If you like smart players or a lot of players, not even a smart player, players just refill the gold before going away from the game so that they don't have to worry about it. But also the town isn't so insane that you feel compelled to be checking on it all the time, that you always have, well, like if I am not playing the game and the town runs out of gold and it's not farming, I don't care, man. I just refill it when I come back. I don't think that Settlers of Calgore crosses any kind of line, at least not for me. And I honestly have not seen people complain about this either. There are people that complain about not liking the mechanic, that you get loot passively without doing anything, like for other concerns, but not from a perspective of a dark pattern thing. I haven't seen anyone complaining about this, so you did right, man.
So we kind of managed to have a bit of latitude to do that. But yeah, I was even really just worried about that, and that ended up being like a really popular league in the end. But yeah, like that's the kind of stuff that I really do want to be careful to try and avoid.
In his video, he brought up somebody carrying a laptop to keep a daily streak alive. Was it you?
Yeah, wasn't me. No, I do know who that was. I'm not going to throw them under the bus.
What are some of the really bad examples of dark patterns that you really don't like and work to avoid?
I mean, okay, like so random example, right? In our shop, the points, they're like 1 point is 10 cents, right? We don't have any like weird like ratios and other stuff. We never do like...
This is very good. You always know what something is priced at because the conversion is linear and you can purchase round numbers. You don't have this awful shit that mobile games have where you don't know what something is worth, and they do this uneven pricing to make sure that you never reach zero again, you know, that you always have a little bit in there, or you need a little bit more to be able to buy something, and then you are always spending, you know. That is not like that in Path of Exile.
Like point discounts or like larger packs of discounts and other stuff like that. Like, you know, like we try to play it extremely, you know, like it's like the reason why we have to have a point currency on the shop is because, you know, you need to do at least $5, otherwise the credit card fees just become ridiculous, right? So, but it's like outside of that, we're not interested in having a premium currency exactly. We just want you to be able to buy, you know, like stuff in our shop. So therefore, we don't have any interest in doing things like selling things for like, you know, like 99 points or like, you know, like doing weird ratios and all stuff. Like I don't want to do it, right? So we've always been like that, and we just kind of, you know, just a random example of one of those things, right?
Yeah, of course. And it seems like you're doing okay. So maybe they're not.
You don't need to do that, right? I mean, it's the same as true with the like mystery box. I think
exactly. You don't need to do it. If the game is good, you don't need to do it. The problem is that some companies are greedy as fuck, and they say, why earn $1 million if I can earn $2 million, you know, and they fuck you in the ass, even if they don't need to do it, you know. So, base of GG here.
We were one of the first in the industry to publish what the chances were. I think we were one of the earliest ones also to make it so that you can't get repeat items in the mystery boxes as well. Like, you know, so like we're making sure that when we do this stuff that we're, you know, we're trying to be as friendly as possible for that kind of thing. And like at the end of the day, you know, we did experiments with the stuff and we found, you know what, like all of those things didn't matter as much as you might think that they do. And I'm sure that, you know, you could probably make a few more bucks if you do some of that stuff, but I don't think it's actually necessary. I think that you can actually be fair and it's okay.
Yeah, you know, it's just a really interesting topic for me because I think there are games that do it well and sort of strike that balance that needs to be struck when you're making a product. I think you're one of those companies, in my opinion. And I was curious, do you feel like anybody out there is kind of getting a bad rap in the industry right now?
You mean like undeserved?
Yeah, like maybe it's like, maybe you're being a little bit too harsh on.
I don't know that I would immediately.
Definitely not Blizzard. That is why he says undeserved.
I don't know if there's any examples that jump to my mind. Like, I mean, look, I do, like, in general, I do sympathize with game companies when they do things, because, you know, like I've been there in some cases, you know, like I can see how it goes. And obviously everyone's trying to do their best with regard to making things that players like. So, you know, like I do sympathize a lot of the time, but at the end of the day, like, you know, you've got to, you do actually need to do what your customers want you to do, right? Like you can't, you know, you have to respect them. And so, you know, if people are getting a bad rap, I mean, on some level, they do need to just be able to...
Base. I've always told you guys, Jonathan is base. He knows that they are making a game that needs to be fun for the player, that the player needs to be satisfied with, and he tries to put the needs of the players first. Sometimes they get it wrong, but then he goes and he looks at the feedback and tries to solve it. Dude, he doesn't take it personally.
That and deal with that and, you know, and change things and do better.
Yeah, you know, actually in my previous interview with Path 1, I believe he said something along the lines of, you can't get defensive with your community because you have to address those issues head on. What's your personal philosophy with that? Like when the community's mad, you seem to really weather those storms well. So like, what's your approach when, you know, you're kind of getting nailed from all corners?
I mean, what it comes down to really is you have to appreciate the fact that, you know, anyone who's unhappy, they're unhappy for a reason, right? Like you have to try to find their perspective. And that can be really hard sometimes, like seeing what their perspective is. But, you know, like it can be done. You can do it. And that is what led to, you know, a lot of the improvements we made in 030, where we did the sprinting and stuff like that. And it's like, I was kind of against the idea initially, but then we worked out a way to make it okay. You know, like we're like, okay, so, you know, someone's saying they want the game to be faster. Like, what is a way that we can do that in a way that they are happy and I'm happy, right? Like, can we find a way to kind of like get a common ground here? And that's really what it comes down to.
Well, that's good. Last year, I asked you about your favorite game. I think you said it was Balatro. I think that was your game. Was that 2024?
Probably, yeah, that sounds right.
Who do you think is going to win 2025 at the Game Awards, and what have been some of your favorites this year?
Well, I mean, the people who are going to win is obviously Expedition 33. I think that's not in doubt. Not actually my favorite game particularly, but not that I'm saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying, like, you know, it wasn't my favorite. Let me just, I feel like I need to look at my Steam library here and
go ahead,
refresh myself on what I've been playing. So, oh, you know what? Like, okay, the game I definitely enjoyed the most this year was The Drifter. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's a 90s style adventure. It's a 90s style adventure game, and it was just so well done. I honestly loved it. So yeah, that's kind of that's the thing that I'm pushing.
I have to play this because I identify a lot with Jonathan, guys. He likes a lot of the things that I like. I will take a look at that game later.
The moment in terms of like what's the game? Honestly, they probably deserve more sales because it's really excellent. So yeah, that's probably what I enjoyed the most.
Oh, that's great.
And I used to be a big classic adventure guy. Like, for example, you know what of my favorite franchises of all time is, and I played a lot of them, but not the most recent ones. Monkey Island. I played Monkey Island 1, 2, 3, and 4, the old ones. Then the Telltale one, I didn't play it, and then they did like a remake. I have not played that one. But the all 4 games, I played them all, and I love them. Even I made my mom play Monkey Island, and she likes them too. She played 1, 2, and 3.
You're voting for Expedition 33. Got it.
I would not, but I would. I'm not sure if they got nominated. But Silk Song was probably my next favorite afterwards. I would say.
Great
I really
game.
enjoyed that. Yeah,
great game.
Nice.
The new map system. So was that inspired from POE1, or what was the new map system?
And so you're talking about the Fate of the Vile dungeon map thing.
Yeah.
So basically that we did originally want to do something that was inspired by what we did in Incursion, but I wanted to do something a bit more interesting because I never was really quite fully happy with how that one worked. And I'd played a game, an indie game called Loop Hero. It must have been like 6 or 7 months ago. I don't know if you played it before, but it's effectively a game where the hero is automated, and what you're doing is designing and making a dungeon for them to walk around in order to level up the hero. And I really liked the way that like the position of placing all of the elements in the dungeon really mattered in that game. So I kind of took a bit of inspiration from that, and I ended up just sort of at home, just in my spare time, kind of writing a like a programmer UI type sort of simulation for this to sort of see like, okay, what can I make here to create something. And I actually ended up using that prototype. We took all the code from that and then actually used it for the actual game. So effectively what we've got is the actual league is that same prototype with, a proper UI on it rather than the UI that I just made, with like lines and a few small things. So that was a really fun one. And honestly, I don't know if the league could have come together quite the same in any other way, because I ended up modifying the design of what I was doing a lot while I was making it. It's been a very long time since I kind of like personally just like sat down and wrote code for a league before. So that was a really fun one, and kind of returned to my roots a little bit, because I used to do this stuff all the time a long time ago.
What do you guys code in?
C++. So like we've got our own engine where most of the game industry that isn't using Unity is all in C++.
Okay, cool. And I made a comment about it. You have a painting behind you. Are you a painter? Do you paint?
I'm not. No, it's not me. It's that's a guy. Sam Foley, I believe, is his name. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. It's a really nice one. He's like a local nice. It's good stuff.
Cool. I had a few jokey questions in here too that I didn't get to. When writing your scripts, I also deal with this. How hard is it to find other words for terms like foe, enemy, or destroy/defeat? It could take a while. You know what? I'll tell you what the one thing that I find myself using AI for is a really good thesaurus, right? Like, it's just like, they seem to, in the depths of the AI, there seem to be a million other these words. And so that's what I often use it for. It's definitely a problem though. Yeah, that's funny. Give me 5 different ways to say the word foe. What was another one I had here? Oh, I was sort of curious. Do you ever use consultancy agencies? I know you have like the Aztecs, right? So like, do you reach out to an Aztec expert to ask them about getting the glyphs correct? I don't even know what you would ask about.
Not usually. What it really comes down to is making sure that our artists are just doing really good referencing and just making sure that they're paying a lot of attention to that stuff. So they do a lot of exploration and sort of do a research into the culture. And then what they make is they make these these reference boards of like, here's how to do this correctly and all stuff. They sort of assemble all those kinds of things.
I like this question, and I like that they do that. You can see several parallels of real cultures represented in Path of Exile, and I love that, right? You have the Maori, you have obviously the Aztecs or Mayans, you have Romans, you have Greeks with Oriath, Romans with the Empire, and it is cool, right?
Together in order to make like a sort of a Bible for how to here's how to represent this culture as we are representing it in in the game. And then once you've got that, you can kind of go from there and create like a bunch of assets. It's definitely a bit of a process.
Yeah, that's sort of cool. Like, do you travel to the locations and then actually experience it, or is it more just online research? What's the process like?
I mean, we haven't really done that. It is a lot of online research mostly. I mean, there've been cases where we've done like some different things than that, but most of the time, yeah, it's just a lot of online research and just making sure. Now, I mean, this isn't really my
brother. They live in New Zealand. There is no way in hell I am going to travel to, I don't know, to Mexico or to I don't know, Nicaragua to check out the ruins there or whatever, the places. No way in hell. That is too much. That is too far away. Let them research online, dude.
Thing, obviously, like, I'm not the lead ass, but I said that is what they do, and I sort of see them doing that stuff all the time.
When you think back to where you were at launch and where you are today, what's something that you're like really, really proud to have accomplished at this point with what is it, 0.4, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that like what we've managed to do really well now is we've managed to get like a really good feel for like combat and like through the campaign and that kind of stuff. I'm really happy with where that is. I really like the way that the item system and crafting is coming together. Like, sure, we could use a few more rewards and stuff, but the overall system I'm really, really enjoying. And just like, just the feeling of comboing things and all that stuff, I'm just really, really happy with that. So it's like, I don't think there's like too many weaknesses we still have left, and I kind of do have a plan for how to address them. So, like, I'm pretty sure things are coming together, and we're going to be now soon at a point where I'm like, okay, like we're actually pretty damn locked in as far as like, making a good action RPG is concerned.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that you were adjusting the currency in endgame, because that was one of my big criticisms for like 0.0 or whatever, because you just spend everything, and if you run out of the maps basically, or whatever they're called, you can't really proceed anymore. So thank you, I guess that was more than anything.
Yeah.
Was that from player feedback, or was it from your own experience, or maybe a little of both?
It's a mix of both. I mean, like I sort of say this pretty frequently, but ultimately what it comes down to is, yeah, like we hear the players what they say, we play ourselves, we try to understand, like, okay, am I experiencing the same problem that they're experiencing, and then be like, okay, now we can make some kind of change. But you do need both of those elements. Like what I don't want to do is just knee-jerk react to something. Like a player says this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to change it then. You know, like it needs to be that I actually experience the problem for myself to fully understand it. You know, that's kind of a key element of that.
And the dragon, it's like you've referenced Game of Thrones, right?
Again, guys, you know what I think about it, but let's hit it.
At least a little bit.
I mean, I believe that the Game of Thrones dragons.
They talking about Game of Thrones. This guy that I have right here, he's from Game of Thrones too.
Were also wyverns technically, so you know, like you know, they're just the cooler form of worm, you know, which is the overall classification here. But yeah, I mean, look, that sort of classic like breathing dragon fire pose. I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool, right? You gotta use those references.
Are you going to roll Druid for the new season, or do you think is there another class you're eyeing?
No, definitely Druid right now. I mean, that's what I've been playing for a while now. But actually, there's like a lot of different ways to play it, and it's a little bit it's actually a bit unusual as far as the classes go, because we had to kind of think of it in like, okay, there are sort of 4 archetypes that you might want to play, even independent of being able to pick things across them, right? Like you have to be able to deal with someone who wants to play only spells, or someone who wants to play only wolf, someone who wants to play only bear, or only dragon. But also you want to make sure that there's reasons to combine all of them as well. So
only wolf or the white. I am going to try to do a permanent white wolf build. That is the build, guys. I know that locks me to cold damage, but I am fine with going full cold damage, but I also think that they might introduce some kind of unique that makes that when you are a wolf, you do, instead of cold, you do poison or something like that, or bleeding. Let's see what happens. I have that intuition that they might do some conversion in there.
It's kind of ended up, there's a lot more sort of cross-pollination between the different elements of the skill set here than what we've done before. And I actually think I kind of want to use some of those ideas and try to bring them back into the other classes as well a bit, because that exercise of sort of thinking about things in terms of those different individual archetypes kind of resulted in quite a lot more interesting design. So yeah, like that's been, but it does mean that playtesting has just been like, well, you know, once if you're doing a whole bear playthrough, it's like, okay, well now that's completely like got nothing to do with if you do a full wolf playthrough. So there's a lot sort of harder to kind of, you have to do more playtesting to make the same lot of stuff work.
How is that going to go? Like when I roll Druid in my playthrough, are you going to just naturally have drops? They're like, hey, maybe you should try out the wolf build, but that's usually through like Act 1, right? By the end of Act 1, you'll probably be locked in.
So basically, I mean, look, you can just combine multiple forms together. I do imagine a lot of people will probably want to stick to one. Effectively, what we do is at the beginning, we say, okay, like we're going to give you immediately a wolf and a bear skill. So to start you off, and then the next tier down, that's when you start to get the wyvern stuff coming in. So I suspect a lot of players will probably just like.
Okay, that is good to know, man. That is good to know, because I wanted to go wolf right away. So he's confirming that in the first tier of gems, where they give you the first uncut gem when you after you kill the bloated miller and you enter Clearfell, the dude, I forgot his name, he gives you an uncut gem, right? He's saying that right away that uncut gem can give you a wolf ability or a bear ability, but you still don't have the wyvern ability. Fine by me. I don't care about the wyvern. People that want to go wyvern right away will have to wait for a level 3 gem that I think you get around level 6. You don't have to wait that long, brother. You don't have to wait that long.
Like pick one at the start, just go with it. You know, if the more adventurous players out there, you've also got the wyvern to sort of go with. But yeah, like all through, there's kind of like interesting opportunities to be able to move between them. And one of the things we're trying to do as well is that all of them generate some kind of resource or mechanic that the other ones can use in different ways. Like we'll put those hooks in there. So like one of the ones we had in the video, for example, was that so rage is a thing that the bear can easily generate. You know, like if you're using, but the other 2 classes also have things that consume rage without a natural way to generate it, right? So it's like, you know, you don't have to do that, but it's just a thing that if you're looking to do some kind of like bear hybrid with wyvern, then you can do that, right? Like the more rage you have, the longer you can do the flame breath. So that's like a thing you could do if you want to sort of specialize in doing that. Yeah, like it's like
you can also obviously gain rage in other ways if you don't want to go where, which is what I will try to do, like putting, I don't know, the rage support gem in a skill, and I just spam it, get the rage, and you know.
We try to have those cross-pollinations from all different directions.
What do you think you're going to roll for the Druid?
That's a tough one. I mean, the most recent playthrough I was doing wyvern, so I probably might want to go wolf for the next one after that. So probably on release I'll do that. I'm really quite enjoying wyvern though. It has been fun. So yeah, but I think that when I last played wolf, we didn't quite have a couple of those changes to the way that the pounce and cross slash stuff works. So I think I want to roll that one next.
Well, I suppose I'll ask one more, because I think I got one more minute. The time mechanic on the ascendancy, how does that work on the back end? Maybe that's a weird question. It seems like you like know where the enemy AI is going to go. And then
Oh, you're talking about the one where it like it does a skill from the future kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, what that is just like, you know. So are you talking about the one where you that use against bosses, or the one where it does the thing for you?
You did it against the boss in the.
Okay, so that one, yeah. So that one, basically, what we do is like when you use it, it effectively does the heavy stun, as if they got heavy stunned from their current position, and then both of those entities now exist, but you haven't heavy stunned one of them. So then what usually happens after that is because you keep attacking them, it immediately heavy stuns the boss as well, and that causes the boss to usually do basically the same thing that just happened to the vision of it that got heavy stunned before. So it kind of just ends up being that like you get the feeling of like you got the, you know, a future got ripped out and then it immediately happened after. So you know,
That is cool,
kind of just a bit of a psychological trick there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was a bit of a trip. I'm like, wait, how does that work? So that seems really fun. What's a cosmetic that you and the team worked really hard on and thought was really cool, but no one bought or very few people bought?
I actually don't think I've got a good answer for this one. I probably didn't pay enough attention to it to really be able to say that. It actually is. I'm not usually the one doing most of that cosmetic stuff, so yeah, probably I'm not the right person to answer that question.
Well, I just thought it'd be a fun one to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much time we have left, but I kind of got through my questions a little faster than I thought. Was there anything that I didn't ask you about that you really were excited to discuss today?
No, I mean, you know, look, the main things are, we've got the Druid. That's obviously been a huge deal. Community's been really excited for it. We've got the Fate of the Val. It's my favorite league to develop for a very long time. So I'm really enjoying that one. And, you know, obviously a bunch of other more minor things that really should be safe for the patch notes. But yeah, that's the sort of the core of it. And yeah, I'm really happy with what we're delivering for this release.
And you can't give me any hints about final release date.
Well, I mean, it isn't this year. That's what I can say about that. Yeah. But look, put it this way. I would be incredibly disappointed if we didn't have it out sometime next year. Let's just say that. That's.
I would be disappointed too, Jonathan. I would be disappointed too if it doesn't release in 2026, because I predicted August. It is not looking likely. So, brother, come on, man.
Definitely, like if the release year ended on a 7, I would be quite unhappy. So yeah, I'm doing my best to try and get it next year. But like when it comes down to it, what we need to do is we need to get, you know, the end game in a good place. We need to get the balance in a good place. We need the performance in a good place. You know, like it's just basically, and then of course we need to finish the campaign, right? Like these are the things we need to do to get the game out. And so I don't want to commit to when the date is until we're like pretty damn certain that all of that stuff is good. And at that point, we're ready to say, hey, everyone, the game's done. Play it, you're gonna have a great time. You know, like people, no one's left, like there are no big groups of things that people can say are bad left, you know?
Yeah, totally makes sense that you want to wait till everything's lined up, all your ducks are in a row, so to speak. Well, I'm super excited to try out the Druid. I can't wait for this expansion. I'm waiting to play this class since we met and did that first gameplay walkthrough many years ago. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always, and I also can't wait to see how the community reacts to all the new content.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thank you very much. It's been great.
Thanks. Now, in addition to this interview, we also had a bit of a round table, and it was really great to get a few questions in there and jokes. Let's be honest, that's just sort of my style. Anyway, here's what they had to say to those questions.
Starting from the ones that were already posted when we were playing the video.
I was going to say the video still has something to go on, and the interview is over. Okay, we have this style of interview that the last one they did with Mark was with this style, and it was cool.
First question is, can any class equip the animal talisman weapons or just the Druid? Yep, so just like all of our weapons, they're usable by any class. The talisman is what unlocks the ability to transform. So effectively any class can do it. And obviously we like to do this kind of thing because, you know, for the players out there who like to experiment, you know, with doing things like ascendancy classes that are not on the Druid while still using it with animal forms and that kind of thing, that can be a fun thing to allow. So yeah, we do try to allow this kind of stuff, and that's how it works. The next question is, are you able to alter the element of the Druid's beast forms, like taking a Shadow Flame Conduit passive to make the Wyvern's Flame Breath ability deal chaos damage instead of fire? So yep, that one does work.
Okay, this one is a controversial one because I think, and you are going to say, yes, you know more about the game than the lead designer of the game. I think he's confusing here. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work, man. Because the Flame Breath is an attack, and the Black Flame Covenant only works with spells. So for that to work, or they make the flame attack a spell instead of an attack, or they change the Black Flame Covenant to work on everything and not only on spells. I think maybe he got confusing here and he just thought about conversion of damage, right? Like something like having the original sin ring or whatever, just conversion of damage, everything should work there, right? But specifically the Black Flame Covenant, that is the one that transforms fire spells into chaos damage, and you got the purple flame visually. I think it shouldn't work You can see in here, this is the database they are showing in here, the skill. It is Flame Breath, and it says that it is an attack. And when you hover over the Black Flame Covenant keystone on Path of Exile itself, it says that it only works on spells, and you can test it out with a fire attack, and you will see that it does not work. So I think he maybe got confused in there, or they are changing it.
And generally speaking, like all the various tools that we have throughout the game for modifying many different abilities, all of those do work with the Druid as well. But each of the forms do have a sort of like somewhat, known elemental alignment. So the bear generally has more stuff going on with fire. The wolf has a lot more stuff going with cold, and the wyvern has a lot more stuff going with lightning and some fire as well. The next question is, did you ever watch streamers or high-level players and get ideas on how to mess with them and design new challenges around those ideas? Not necessarily. I mean, obviously we do pay attention a lot to the streamers to see what kind of builds they're doing. But I wouldn't necessarily say we're just necessarily trying to mess with them. The next question was the Flesh Surgeon a failed dermatologist? Can you tell me more about the lore of this character? Well, I mean, I guess, that's funny when we were coming up with that one. I can't even remember what came first, but someone proposed the idea of, we've got all these, the Val have all these crafting mechanics for items. What if you could craft yourself? And honestly, like as soon as we heard that, we were like, we have to do this. It's just super cool to like cutting off your own limbs and replacing them with prosthetic ones. So that was just the visual of it and everything was just so amazing. We're like, we just have to do this no matter how complicated it is. So that was a cool one. The next question is, I love the new map system of the temple. What inspired the system? So it is loosely related to the ideas we had in the Incursion League from POE1, but the game that actually inspired me the most was a random indie game called Loop Hero that I played a while back.
I think it is cool that Jonathan just outright says it, right? I got inspired by this, and not there are some other people that wouldn't say I got inspired by this game. They would just say, oh, I got this idea while playing or something, but they wouldn't name the game, It is cool that Jonathan is shouting out the game. It is honestly making me want to try the game before the league comes out.
And in this game, one of the things I really observed was that it wasn't so much about what tiles you got, it was more about how you place them with relation to each other. And I thought that was really interesting. So I wanted to make a system that had a lot of that same idea of like, it's about being able to place them strategically with the right positioning in order to get the base bonuses. And that turned out really well. So I really enjoyed working on this one just because designing that system was really fun. And in fact, Incursion, back when we met it in POE1, was one of the leagues I really enjoyed making the most. And for this one, I took the somewhat unusual step of actually writing the gameplay code for the league myself as well. So this was a really fun one to work on, and just designing all those things. And it's one of those really fun things to do when you design and build those kinds of league mechanics by yourself. The next one is what new buffs did you add to Lightning Arrow this season? Obviously there are a few supports, but of course the stuff that is the most powerful now, because I mean everyone's playing Lightning Arrow at the moment. We did have to do a few nerfs for that, but overall we've buffed a lot more things than we've nerfed. There's as Mark said in the video, we've buffed like 90 skills. There's like a ton of stuff going on there, but of course there are a few nerfs as well. Next question is, the number of enemies in the endgame is one of my biggest issues as well. What ultimately made you and the team scale the number back? So
okay, good question. I want to know more about this. This is very important to me because I like the change, but I know that a lot of people don't like the change.
When we so there was a breakpoint where we saw that there were just way too many monsters in endgame, and the trouble that we had with it at the beginning was actually it's very hard to be able, at least we felt like it was going to be very hard to nerf that and like make the scale back the number of monsters in endgame without causing a lot of outrage among the player base. So we're really concerned about that. So what we actually ended up doing was we wanted to be able to change it through the whole game. What we decided to do was give it a test in 031. So we made a sort of mid-league patch where we adjusted it for the low-level places and maps, and then ramping up to the same value as before in the endgame. And we did that because we were like, okay, people aren't going to be worried about, like, we've got that borderline where you went from campaign to endgame and it like felt like the bridge was, sorry, the jump was way too high. So we thought we'd smooth that out, but we were kind of like, well, players are going to complain unless we, unless we ramp it back up to what it was before an endgame. But a sort of unexpected thing happened, which was that we actually got a bunch of players saying, oh, it was really good that you did that, and they actually wished that it was like that for the rest of the endgame as well. And that's where when we're like, well, hang on, like, we absolutely would have done that if we thought we could get away with it. If the players are actually saying they also want that, that means we absolutely should be doing it. So obviously the thing that the players do care a lot about is the fact that the rewards are, not being nerfed, and that the experiences are not being nerfed and that kind of stuff. So we have to make sure that was the same. But overall, I think that it's a hugely beneficial change, because there was just this feeling of getting swarmed in the endgame that wasn't really great. And the other thing that it was doing is it was causing a situation where the higher damage builds that had less clear, like less AoE, were effectively penalized very significantly. Now with the changes, it's a bit more viable to do more of those types of builds. So I'm really happy with that change, and I think that improves things quite a lot. The next question that we have here is, the Druid has been on the precipice of being added for a while. What was the biggest hurdle with the class, and when did it click? So yeah, we actually originally showed the Druid back in Gamescom 2023, I believe it was. And back then, it was before we had added WASD to the game. And we only had one animal form at the time. We had other animal forms we wanted to do, but they hadn't actually been made yet. And so the very first thing we had to do to sort of get things going was we had to work out a way to make the class feel acceptable in a WASD context. And for the Wyvern in particular, that was really, really difficult because whenever you can cast, a ranged projectile at this point, such as, breathing fire and that kind of stuff, people want to be able to move while doing that. And, the dragon kind of moves around on its two big wings, grabbing the ground as it moves. So it's really quite difficult to make that work when you can move. So we kind of had to work out, we went through like a bunch of different strategies to making that work, and that was like a whole thing. And then we also had like a huge problem with the wolf as well, because one of the things when I started with when I were doing the wolf was we didn't want it to just look like a man in a wolf suit. So I was very keen on the kind of like four-legged locomotion.
By the way, you guys know that I am fine with the man in the wolf suit. But okay, I understand that they didn't want to do that.
But then we started running into all sorts of problems of like, okay, if you're just a wolf, like what kind of attacks can you do? Just biting things is not particularly great. Like you need, you want that sort of claw, like slashing thing, that's kind of the fiction you're going for. But I didn't want to give up on that four-legged locomotion either. So we ended up coming with a hybrid for that one where if you're jumping from far away, you can go from 4 legs, land on 2 legs, and do a slash, and then for a little bit of walking, you do a sort of traditional WASD type movement setup. But then after you've walked a little while, you go back down on all fours again, and then you can actually run more quickly. That was the thing that really made the wolf click. So for each of those different animal forms, it really was kind of a different moment when we sort of worked out how to make them fun. And we honestly went through a hell of a time getting that to the point where it felt really good across all the classes. But we did get there in the end. So yeah, that was, I guess it probably was only like a couple of months ago when we really managed to get things really working to the point where I was really happy with it. The next question is, in terms of performance, what would you say is usually the biggest tipping point and pushes the team to find more solutions? Well, I mean, performance has been something that people have been pretty unhappy about for a while. And this time I basically just said, look, I'm going to take care of this one. So I sort of personally started firing at the profiler and finding things and just pushing things forward. So yeah, we found a lot of things in a relatively short period of time. I'm really happy with the improvements we did. In the video, we said 25% increase, but honestly, I think that the reality is quite a lot better than that. The reason we wanted to hedge our bets there is that you're always going to have people who say, oh, like it's not actually that much faster.
Of course, giving a conservative numbers just to be sure that it is correct, But it should be better, which is awesome for me.
That kind of stuff. I think it's better just to under promise and over deliver there.
By the way, the pixelation, I think it's not me. It's a video itself. The quality of the video.
For example, even today, I found something else that can improve the performance of the game by 20-ish%. We've got some really big improvements. I think the honest actual answer is it's probably more like double frame rate for CPU bound cases.
Nice.
But yeah, like we'll commit to a 25% uplift in all cases because that's been a problem we've seen. So yeah, like I just really wanted to make sure that we were improving in this league. Now there's a lot more we can do here, like I've got a lot more ideas for things. I've identified some other things that we can improve, and there's obviously some balance things as well with like certain builds that can be a bit of a problem. But in general, I would say that we're getting a much better control over our performance stuff. And certainly what I want to make sure is that by the time early access is over, that not a single person is complaining about performance.
Nice.
So that's kind of the commitment that I want to have.
Awesome.
And so yeah, like it's just become something that we really need to make sure is really good. The next question was, what did you find was causing the performance issues? Great to see improvement. So I would say probably the it's not going to be one thing alone, but probably the biggest thing that made a difference, I guess, was making sure that we can take advantage of multiple cores more effectively. Effectively, even though you might have like 12, 16 CPU cores or something like that, we were basically not really using most of them most of the time during the course of a frame. And so a lot of the work that I did was basically just making sure that we're removing dependencies so things can run at the same time more efficiently, and just utilizing more of the hardware that you have effectively. There was obviously some just traditional optimization as well, just looking at things that are slow and like finding a way to do it faster. But a lot of it was that multi-threaded optimization type stuff.
Nice.
The next question is, what inspired you to add Wyvern to Druid, and what inspirations do you use for this design/abilities? I'm not even sure who exactly was the first person to propose it, but effectively we were like, okay, we want to go something a little bit more out there with the third form. We want something that's not something that you would expect. And we also
Dude, there are so many things that are things that you wouldn't expect that are better than the Wyvern, man. The fungus guy like the Rotten Druid in Act 1. The crustacean, brother, the crab, the lobster, I don't know. Those are out there. Those are different. People don't do that for a druid. A fucking shark, like the great one that you have, the great white one that you have in Act 4. People don't expect that. Why? Why the Wyvern? It doesn't fit, man. I am going to stop ranting about the Wyvern because I've seen people in the comments mad that I rant about the Wyvern too much. I am sorry, guys. I am sorry.
I wanted something that had some kind of range ability because we had the kind of like slow, attack with the bear. We had the kind of fast and furious with the wolf. We wanted something that was going to be ranged, and someone said, why not a dragon? We ended up going with Wyvern, but that was kind of the thing. We're like, well, yeah, why not?
For range, you could have done a tree with a lot of plant spells. But I know you don't want to do the tree because WoW has the tree. Last Epoch has the spring. And when you can do the mushroom, and then it is original to you. Brother, my dude, an eldritch entity. We don't have water spells. You could have done waters with the crustacean. You can do an eldritch entity, a jellyfish with the Eater of Worlds inspiration. Stuff like that, man.
Not a dragon, right? Like, we should probably do something like that because it would just be awesome. And then the tough part was like, okay, like if you're a dragon, you need to be able to utilize the wings effectively and that kind of stuff. And it just, it was a tough one. But we sort of was like, okay, if we want to be able to have some kind of range, like what kind of animal can you be that can be ranged? And so a wyvern ended up being what we went with. Next question is, without spoilers, of course, are there other druid forms to be earned through uniques and other methods / means like the demon for the bear? So we don't have any others in the game right now, but there are others that we were making and might come later. So.
Hey, that is good to know, baby. I have to think the wolf is going to have one like that, dude. But again, since I like the white wolf, it depends. Like for me, in coolness, it depends if you are going to transform the wolf into something else. It depends on what you give me. And maybe talking about the wyvern, the way that they are transforming the bear, maybe they transform the wyvern into something cool, and I like that thing that they come up with the wyvern, and then I like it. I don't know. But specifically for the wolf, since I want to be the white wolf, I am not as excited as for a full transformation, but I am excited for something that transforms your damage or your skills, like, or your cold skills are now poison skills, and something like that.
So, yeah, there are some other uniques we did have in production, but that's something that we can definitely do more of, and I'm quite keen to do some of that as well. The next question is, can we get a skin for the druid that is basically a man in a wolf suit? I'm not sure about that. I'm kind of against it. But also the rig now effectively is designed with these sort of long, like sort of strange pose. So yeah, a little bit more difficult, I suspect, to do that. So yeah. So that's the end of the questions that I've seen in Discord. So if you guys have any other questions that you wanted to ask, then feel free to throw them in the Discord. Otherwise, I guess we're good. So okay, so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the presentation, and hopefully I answered some of your questions, and if that's all we have, then all right, then I guess we'll call it a day. So thank you very much, and yeah, I'll see you again. Hopefully I'll see you in game, but if I don't see you there, then hopefully I'll see you again next time we do a presentation.
Well, as always, it was an absolute pleasure to make this for y'all watching. Thank you for watching or reacting to the video. I always appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to know my content goes live. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much to the members, all the patrons, all the YouTube members, Chris, Freddy, Philoroni, and Aries EMS. I appreciate you for supporting at the top level. I am going to get out of here, but I'll see you for the next one. But before I go, be sure to check out my previous interview with Grinding Gear Games if you have not yet, because it was a good one. Bye for now.
I did, and it was a good one. I did, and it was indeed a good one. Marquis Base. But hey, for this one, thank you so much, Destin, for the video and the interview, and thank you, Jonathan, for being there and answering the questions. I've always told you guys, I think Jonathan is base. I like this a lot. We got a lot of information regarding the development, what was causing the performance issue. I really wanted to know what, and that is good that we know that they were not taking advantage of the cores in the CPU, and that is why the CPU always flares up, right? So that is good to know. The development for the Druid, the development for the League, I am really excited, dude. This is awesome. And of course, very excited for the future of the game, 0.5 and the end game, the future forms for the Druid and all of that. Thank you, Jonathan, for letting players know what is going on. What do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a clown? Am I a genius? Let me know everything in the comments below. I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me. Also, remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless ya. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.